It's me, Mr.
I'm here
Dez,
for
is
you,
back
boss.
at it again.
100%.
With the truth is the truth, period. Fuck all the bullshit. I just want you to know a little something about taxes. I need somebody to make it make sense how we're being taxed on property that you buy and you paying taxes on the house note that's on the property that you bought already. I want to know how does that work for somebody to get property tax from you after you done paid for the property and at the end of the year they get some more money from you from your property. The property that they ain't come cut your grass, they ain't clean out your gutters, they ain't do shit to get shit for. So where is
It's
all
the
this
general.
taxes going? And why in the fuck are we not getting some of it back? I'm just saying. Something to think about. Check it out.
I'm not in favor of a lot of the things
So long.
that you're talking about, that you're targeting here. I agree with you on many of those counts, but one person's loophole may be another senator's version of trying to incentivize behavior. The reason that you, no, it's clearly, like the reason that you get a discount on
Oh,
your,
hi.
it's
How
incentivizing
can
you
I
to
help
buy a
you?
home. Because
How do
you
you
get the
choose
tax
between
benefits
your
that come
children?
with that. There are all sorts of behaviors that we incentivize.
Consider when you talk to people in the country, well,
Just
the
let me
same
know what
normal
you
people
need.
we always talk about,
You got a
they
nice
see how
fleet,
much
boss.
they're taxed now, and it might be,
So,
I don't
we
know,
going to have big meat,
60%
boss?
if you're at a certain level. In New York, in New Jersey, that's what your total tax
If you're a
is.
W2
Bill Maher
employee,
the other day, and you see how the money is spent, and you see what's being uncovered now on how it's being spent, and the idea that this is still not enough, what the federal government is spending right now. You want to ramp it up, tax everybody, every billionaires, and
Okay, the networks are down.
and not even reduce the debt. You want to even use that to spend more on Medicaid fraud and
So let me ask
all
you, Joe,
these. It just goes through the cracks and doesn't work.
let's turn it
More? You
around.
want more?
Let's turn it around the other way. Let's turn it around the other way. If half of the wealth tax went to reducing the deficit, would you support it then?
I at least listen.
Officer,
You would listen.
But it's still not enough, though, Senator.
How do you know all this?
What's the total you could raise?
On the bill, well, it's now going up
You want to go to 50 million, not 2% on 50, down to 50 million.
I want above 50 million. Your first 15 million in wealth is free and clear. Your 15 million and first dollar, you have to pay a 2-cent tax. Is that such a big deal?
I mean, philosophically, I think it's a pretty big deal.
You don't think it's a big deal?
Because you paid money to accrue that.
Did you pay money for your house?
I understand you pay property tax.
And you pay property tax on that, right?
And for services and
You pay tax on services. You pay these taxes all the
what is
time.
that number? It should be 2% on 50 million and above.
So I'm trying to remember.
I can tell you a lot right now.
Yeah, I will tell
You
you.
don't like clock because you want to.
Yeah, you can look it up.
Wait. So, we got to talk about this CNBC interview featuring Elizabeth Warren, a.k.a. Pocahontas, who is going to try to explain to the panel why is it that we need a so-called wealth tax. It ties on unrealized capital gains, and once again, Elizabeth Warren is going to give the same old, tired, wrong, economically illiterate, ignorant arguments for why this is a good idea, even though it is not. Okay, and I want to react to it, but again, anybody who knows anything knows that this is not a good idea. I don't know why Elizabeth Warren is somebody to listen to when it comes to the economy, when it comes to anything having to do with economics at all. She is the last person that I would listen to. Okay, she doesn't know a damn thing. Okay, and she should not be in Congress. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. My question is, we tax the hell out of these dinners. Let's say we do. It's a finite number. Is there ever come a point with 40 trillion in debt where you're not just thinking about taxing more to spend more on whatever you want to do, try to fix the world? Does it ever get to the point where right now we're 24% of what we spend, and we're still raised at 18%, but can we get it back down?
Can I just invert that question and ask it of our Republican friends here, and that is there ever a point where you will stop cutting taxes for billionaires? Because that is exactly why we have this dislocation.
But I gave you that. I gave you that we're going to tax them. Then, but that's still not going to be enough. Who else?
So, but let's start with a wealth tax. Actually, is an astonishing amount of money from a handful of people because they have so much. You put a 2-cent wealth tax in schools, you've got enough money to fund our colleges and universities. You've got enough money to cancel our student loan debt. You've got the money we need here in America to start investing in our people.
Yeah. AKA, you got enough money to fund the socialist wish list that Democrats like her have, right? In which they pretend that magically we're going to have all the money needed to fund everything. Everything's going to be free. College is going to be free. Daycare is going to be free. Child care is going to be free. You notice she didn't say healthcare, right? She left out now.
Meriwether Security Consulting. How can I help? Thank you. A helicopter has been dispatched to your area.
Medicare for all, healthcare for all, without serious taxation on everybody, right? But even still, right? Let's be real, okay? You're not funding all this stuff by just so-called taxing the rich.
We are here to help. Latest whoever's giving you trouble.
They never raise as much revenue as they think they're going to raise, right? If you were to pass a wealth tax, right, the type of tax that you would pass, the stock market would instantly tank, which would mean, by definition, you're not going to be getting all the money that you want after, because she's trying to tax unrealized capital gains. And that's what these economically illiterate politicians don't understand, okay? Taxing unrealized capital gains creates serious liquidity problems, real issues with valuation that is not going to result in what these people make. You're not going to collect nearly as much revenue as you make. Also, on top of that, once they start taxing these individuals, not only are they not going to collect the revenue they think they're collect, but also on top of that, the program is going to cost way more than what they claim, because they're going to want to put all the illegals on the program, they're going to want to put everybody on the program, they're going to want to expand the program to the max. It's not going to be nearly as affordable as these people claim, right? It happens in all these little cities. Every single time they try to tax the rich, they never raise as much money as they claim they're going to raise. They never do, and the programs always cost more than they say, right? And the costs always go up, right? You cannot take many government programs that have gotten smaller. You talk about welfare programs. You talk about entitlements. Entitlements have only gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because that's just how it goes. Once you start giving people entitlements, you start giving people free this, free that, you can't take it away. Or else you lose elections, right? You lose elections. Even though it's overall a net negative, okay? Because you have a bunch of... so what we have here is Elizabeth Warren making the same Marxist policy arguments that all the rest of them make about how taxing the rich is going to fix the world, right? We're going to have all this free stuff. And it never happens that way. Look at these blue states where they tax people more than 50%, right? To be overall, federal plus states. Yeah, I mean, you have people, half their money can take away in New York. They don't have all this universal stuff. In California, they don't have all this universal stuff, right? Show me in the state with all these universal stuff that has this web tax, they can afford all this stuff that Elizabeth Warren just talked about. They don't have that, because it never works that way. And also, no, she's not trying to tax the rich and actually pay down the debt or to do anything responsible with money. And no politicians will try to do that, to be honest with you, right? Either part. Let's be honest. So asking her that question about, oh, well, are you going to take the money and pay down the debt or do the fiscal responsible thing? Hell no. Of course not. No politician's going to do that, okay? We're way too far down the rabbit hole. They're not going to do it. Okay, so asking Elizabeth Warren that question is a waste of time.
And Jeff Bezos says, oh, we could double his taxes and it wouldn't be enough. Absolutely, as long as we're going to stick with income, because Jeff Bezos knows how to work the system. But the problem is, for hundreds of millions of Americans, they don't get to work the system. They don't get to say, oh, I'll just live off borrowing against my...
He doesn't want to tax anyone, though. He doesn't want to tax anyone. The buy, borrow, die sort of theory of the case. I just want to posit to you, he said it directly, is something actually he does. If he's been selling his stock regularly to finance, by the way, Blue Origin. You can decide whether that's a good investment, a bad investment, you can decide whatever, but he has to sell the stock and actually pay the taxes. That's how it actually works in practice. There are other people, I'm not just telling you that there's not other people who do this, but I think that he's probably not the right example for that particular case. Yeah, it's very overrated. And I'm telling you this as somebody who's actually worked in private wealth management, which basically means super high net worth, right? We're talking about individuals that have more than $5 million in total assets. They can get up to hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Those are the type of accounts that I've worked on over the years, okay? When I was working in that industry. And I'm telling you, that's not really a thing, right? Buy, borrow, die, in the way that politicians talk about it and describe it, does not really happen at those wealth levels that you talk about, millionaires, even people who have over $100 million. Like, you have to have, like, extreme level wealth for this to actually be okay. But even Bezos doesn't even use it like that because it's honestly not something that is even that viable, right? First of all, it only really works when you have stock or you have assets that are appreciating significantly in a short period of time, and you have super low interest rates, okay? And it's only really accessible and sustainable to those who are at the very, very, very top. But they don't use it like that. So, right, they don't even use it like that. And on top of that, when they sell their stock, okay, they pay capital gains taxes. So they are paying taxes when they sell their stock. They are paying taxes on their wealth. That's what a capital gains tax is, okay? But they don't pay that tax until they actually realize the gain, because the gain is...
Like I said again, that's one part of this.
Hey there, Bob.
Continue the next part.